How to avoid becoming a victim of a womanizer. In this video, we'll talk about womanizers and how to steer clear of them, how to spot a womanizer on the first date and stay away from him, because a womanizer does not count on a serious long-term relationship and often only causes internal pain. So now, in order about who a womanizer is, how he manifests himself, and how to identify him. And the first thing is, don't pay attention to superficial compliments. If you listen to a person carefully and observe him closely, you will understand everything about him. It will become logical and understandable for you. If you take off the rose-colored glasses and turn off the pink filter in your mind, stop painting those rainbow pictures you want to see, then you'll be able to clearly see who is in front of you. So if a man manifests himself in such a way, an abundance of compliments, when compliments flow like flattery, when every movement of yours, every step of yours, every strand of hair you straighten is some kind of delight and admiration, perhaps these compliments are not sincere. Pay attention if compliments are highly personalized, if compliments only concern appearance, hairstyle, lips, eyes, figure, gait, and so on. If a man is focused on your looks and all the compliments are about your appearance, and there are a ton of them, that's the first sign that you might be dealing with the womanizer. And the womanizer can also say a lot of compliments to the women around him, something nice to the waitress, for example, or a compliment to some acquaintance they run into on the way, or something nice to another woman. At the next table, the womanizer is showing himself like this. He is a go-getter. He likes the reaction. The woman is his word, and this is precisely what he skillfully uses. Therefore, if you see that he is already trying to charm everyone around him with his charisma, do not delude yourself that this is just such a person. Most likely, you're dealing with a womanizer. Do not get involved in games with emotions, emotional swings, playing on guilt, any kind of swinging, is what a womanizer will use. Emotional swings or a game, for example, near far. That is, today he is gentle and affectionate with you in words. He tells you a lot of compliments, and tomorrow you meet, and he's completely cold and indifferent towards you. That's what emotional manipulation looks like. To create an opportunity to control you more quickly. Again, it's playing on the feeling of guilt. It's a tactic of control. Where a woman feels guilty, that's where she becomes easily manipulated. Maybe your first or second date went great and you were just over the moon. And on the third date, he says something that just makes the ground disappear from under your feet. So you don't really get what's going on, and he's already practically accusing you of something, and you really start to feel guilty. So here's the thing. These swaying movements, this again may indicate that there is a womanizer next to you. He needs this so that he can control you faster. For example, either you call him the next day or he calls you and he's a completely different person, like he's been swapped out. Well, these games that womanizers play are all about not building long-term relationships, but rather getting what they want quickly. Next, let's talk about how he interacts with other women. Pay attention to how a man interacts with other women. That is, usually a womanizer will have this. A lot of messaging on social media. He'll spend a lot of time, for example, on social media, keeping an eye on someone. He'll constantly be getting messages, emojis, and all that. You might think at some point that he's just really social and friendly, but again, don't kid yourself with that illusion. Perhaps at some point you will think that he is so sociable. Simply, but again, do not delude yourself with this illusion. A man who wants to build a serious relationship, he understands that. For example, it's not acceptable for a relationship that he wouldn't want to be treated that way. And when a man sees his woman for a relationship, he concentrates only on her. He has no other options. That is, he wants to spend time with her. He wants to focus attention on her. He wants to do something for her, help her with something. The man is a womanizer. He will be surrounded by women. That is, there will be some messages on social networks. There will be constant messaging, and there will be colleagues calling or whatever else. He'll be polite and charming in his interactions with all the women around him, no matter who you come across. Compliments and so on, that's all that goes with being a womanizer. And he also likes to flirt. If a man likes to flirt with other women, he says that it's just his peculiarity. That's how he needs it. Most likely, this is yet another sign that you're dealing with the womanizer. Next, let's move on. Listen and analyze. If you can listen to information and analyze it, then you will protect yourself from certain mistakes. in their lives and from certain sufferings in their lives. Why do women so often fall for the tricks of womanizers? Because a womanizer knows exactly what to say to a woman. He knows what she wants to hear from him. He knows how to act to melt her heart. And at that moment, she's falling in love, thinking he's the one. She believes she's about to build the happy and strong relationship she's always dreamed of. But she falls into the trap of her own illusions. She made it all up herself. He spoke beautifully, but the love story for the future was something she created on her own. And she caught herself in a trap. So, to avoid getting into such complicated situations, you need to listen and analyze. Look at consistency, meaning how consistent a man is. Consistent in his words, in his promises, he says and does. For example, he promised that tomorrow, the meeting would be at such and such a time. I said this, and he comes exactly at that time. He doesn't rock you. He's not late on some kind of emotional swings. He doesn't reschedule the meeting. That is, there's none of that chaos. You understand that a man is constant, and this is the first indicator that the man next to you is not a womanizer. Next, it's about words and actions. He says it and he does it. A man who looks at a woman and sees her as his woman pays a lot of attention to his words. He puts a lot of emphasis on what he says. For him, his word becomes even more important. He promised and he wants to do it 100%. A womanizer will talk a lot, but there won't be any action. In other words, a womanizer will shower you with compliments, promises, and stories about how he'll reach for the stars, or he'll pull something else out of there. But, in fact, a man who thinks about a serious relationship, thinks about a relationship with a woman, will do nothing. In the long term, he imagines that this woman may possibly take the role of his wife in the future. He will do something. He will, perhaps, speak little, and perhaps he will not even speak at all. He might not promise anything, but he'll show himself as a man who takes action, someone who does things for women. For a man, love is a verb. It's about doing something. A man who is in love will do things for the woman. A womanizer finds that too costly. He needs to get quick results to satisfy his own needs. A man who is in love does something for a woman. A womanizer is too expensive. He needs to quickly get the result that he wants to get in order to compensate for his own. Some internal problems, to satisfy your ego, to feel better at some point and nothing more. Don't idealize, I already said that. If you don't think things through, don't invent them, don't finish drawing the picture, then you won't fall into your own illusions, into such a mistake. A woman often makes this up for herself. So, pay close attention to what the man does and what he tells you. If you take off the rose-colored glasses in time and don't overthink things, you'll be protecting yourself from complicated situations in your life. Don't rush into getting close. Closeness is exactly what a womanizer needs, and he wants to do it quickly. He doesn't want to play the long game. So if you have doubts and there have been some moments that suggest you might be dealing with a womanizer, he won't want to wait for too long. For him, a third date might already be, let's say, the limit. If you understand that you want to be with this man, you like him, you like the way he treats you, but you have some moments of doubt. Do not rush. Give this relationship some time, observe, and allow yourself to get to know this man. And if suddenly there's pressure, don't give in, because a man who is in love with a woman is just as afraid of losing her just like a woman who is in love with a man. She's being cautious too. She's afraid of hurting him or doing something wrong. A womanizer isn't afraid of anything. So I don't want to take my time. I want it to happen fast. If things aren't happening quickly with you, I'll find someone else. That's it. So in order to understand who is in front of you, just take your time. If you see that a man starts putting pressure on you, don't agree right away. Just watch. How will this situation end? So pressure isn't about feelings or love in a relationship. Pressure is really about getting what you want at any cost. Next, ask questions about the future. Another thing that really gives away a womanizer. You don't have to ask questions about your future together, because such questions can scare even. A man is not a womanizer if you ask such questions on the first date. But ask him how he envisions his future with his partner. The future, what it looks like, what their relationship is like. He'll just dreamily talk about the future he envisions. He won't tell you anything because he doesn't know anything. There are no long-term relationships in his fantasies. In his fantasies, there are many interchangeable women. That is, there are trophies that he has acquired. So if you understand and talk to a man and you understand that he has absolutely no plans for the future, this moment should make you think about what kind of man is next to you. Often, immature types don't have plans for the future because they want someone else to do everything for them, make decisions, and so on. And womanizers don't have plans for the future either because they don't need that kind of future. They don't think about planning a family at all. They're focused on their trophies. And the Babniks have no plans for the future because they don't need any such future. They don't think about planning a family at all. They're focused on their trophies. So, asking questions about the future and listening to what yours says. You can figure it all out if the guy sitting across from you has vague or dodgy answers, or if he starts changing the subject to something else. That could be a sign that you're dealing with a womanizer. That's all I have for this video. This was me, Elisa Vardomskaya. I hope for your likes and subscriptions. Leave a comment about what you'd like to discuss in my new videos. Don't forget to hit the bell.